If you've had an accident at work, you've got to remember that your employer is likely to be responsible for that. Every employer has a real duty to look after their employees and has to take steps for their safety to minimise the risk of any injury. And if you've had an accident, it's highly likely your employer's breached that duty. Every work environment has certain duties and obligations placed on an employer who has to comply with health and safety regulations. And if they breach that by having cables lying around in an office, or maybe some defective work equipment, or a piece of machine that doesn't really work properly, or a guard's been removed, then the employer could be responsible for any injury caused by that. It can matter, making a difference, if your accident doesn't happen in your normal place of work. You might be visiting another employer's premises, and again that employer can owe you a duty. So you can actually have duties owed by your own employer and by the place you're visiting. So for us as lawyers, we can really help you sort that out as to who will be responsible for any injury that's been caused. Most people who've had an accident at work are really concerned about claiming against their employer. They do feel loyal to their employer. They may have been there a lot of years. They may get on with their managers and their bosses. But remember that every employer has an obligation, a duty by law, to have employer's liability insurance. And that insurance will pay you out if you have an injury at work. So you'll be claiming against the insurance, not necessarily against the employer. If your employer is insured, you may be worried that they'll dismiss you for making a claim. Now, under the present law, if you've worked somewhere for a continuous period of 2 years now, or it could be a year in your case, then you have protection of employment, so you can't be dismissed otherwise than for a fair reason. And remember that an employer dismissing somebody on the grounds of health and safety can be automatically an unfair dismissal. And most employers these days will be scared of that and will not be silly enough to take dismissal action against an employee claiming for an injury. Most people who come to us who've had an accident at work also need advice on their employment position and whether they can get in difficulties, have disciplinary action taken against them. And we can advise you on all of that, as well as advising on every aspect of your claim.